You've overcome mental health issues.
I was heavily bullied. I was told by my year 6 teacher that I'd amount to nothing in life. That was his parting gift. You know, an influential person at an age. And at that stage, Nick, I didn't realise that my self-esteem was just getting eroded away. I didn't have the intellect to understand what was happening. And then I went into high school and things got worse. And then, I was laughed at, I was teased. So I just turned to eating and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then by the time I finished high school, I was a 120 kilo kid that just didn't have any self-esteem. And I still remember it was a girl at a pub. I'd lined up to get a drink and I spun around and she said I was the ugliest person she'd ever seen in her life. And that hurts. Like that's still, even today, but I've realised now how shallow she was, and I actually wrote about it in the book and made fun of the whole situation, but it was terrible. It was 2014 and I was working, and my boss at the time came up to me one fateful day in September and he called me a liar, a bludger and a thief. And throughout my early years of being in the workforce, I was told that, you're such a waste of space. The world would be better without you in it. And if you're told this for a long time, you start to believe what they're saying. I went to the doctors, did a mental health test, and scored off the charts. I was severe depression and severe anxiety, and then started a 3-year journey.
Have you ever felt like the world's working against you? Life is not always fair, and sometimes we have to dig deeper than we thought possible to create a life worth living. Today I'm speaking to Adam Blum about overcoming obesity, born health issues, ADHD, and extreme bullying, and how he came close to ending his life. Welcome to Move Your Mind, where we uncover why you are holding yourself back from getting the life you want and what to do about it. With the help from high-achieving guests and experts in behavioural science, personal development, and the health and wellness space. Join us if you're ready to move out of your own way toward your ideal self. I'm your host, Nick Brax, and I've been working in the health and wellness space for the last 15 years, helping people find direction and gain the courage to take control of their life. My mission is simple: to help you learn everything that I wish I knew, so you can become your ideal self. Lacking guidance, I spent the majority of my youth feeling lost and disempowered, which led to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and substance abuse. Looking back, I didn't have the vocabulary to communicate what I was experiencing. And as a man, I didn't resonate with the emotional language used in traditional therapy. I didn't need to talk about my feelings. I needed tangible solutions to guide me toward building a life I was proud of. If you can relate, then this podcast is for you. Adam's a firefighter and a mental health advocate. In this episode, we discuss how you can build inner strength and self-worth. If you're ready to take action and build a stronger mindset, then keep listening. Adam, thank you so much for making the time to come on my podcast.
Thank you, Nick. It's an absolute honour and a privilege, mate, to be asked to come on and share my story in the hope to help just one person.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing work that you're doing. And I mean, I have been down a similar path and have seen, firsthand how much of a difference that makes. So it really is so important. And you've obviously got a pretty impactful story that you've been through. So I think it's just so good to, we need more people like you out there sharing their stories and encouraging other people, because there's so many people, so many men that are suffering in silence, not getting the help that they need. And it can end, in suicide if it really gets to that. So it's super important.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think, mate, if we can try and stop the statistics going up on the wall, then that's what it's all. And I've already had it at the book launch last week that I had, mate, where a lady got up and said, just hearing your story, you've saved my life. I was going to end my life, and I'm where you were 10 years ago is where I am right now. And just hearing your story has given me hope. And that just filled me up inside to know that sharing my story has made a difference. So yeah, I really am. Yeah, I just think I owe it to help others, mate. That yeah, I'm quite happy to share my story.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I've had similar things happen where I finished doing a talk and we had someone come up to us that shared that he had a plan to end his life in 2 days' time, and it's just like it's crazy when you hear those things. It's not like I was saying anything out of the ordinary. It's more people just need that message and they want permission. And I know in my own life, whatever I'm going through at that time, when I hear someone else talking about it, it just gives you that feeling that, oh, I'm maybe I'm not so unique. Maybe there's not something wrong with me. Maybe other people do go through this, but it's not what we tell ourselves, is it?
No, there's so much negativity and self doubt and the imposter syndrome and as you and I spoke off air, especially here in Australia, there's the tall poppy syndrome that really people like. I know Nick, you live in the US, so it's a little bit different over there. People seem to want to only help you and keep propping you up to achieve your goals. There's here in Australia, it seems that if someone's doing better than someone, you've got to drag them back down and say, "Hey, you're getting too big for your boots. We need to drag you down a peg or two." And it's really sad to see because at the end of the day, we're all here to live our best lives, and I really believe that we are here to thrive and absolutely like we owe it to ourselves, but we should like you got to surround yourself with people that want to prop you up and see you accomplish the goals and the dreams that you have. And yeah, it's very different. Yeah, and I don't know why we do that in Australia. I really don't. I don't know because we're such a happy-go-lucky country. I don't know why. I don't know where it comes from, and it's a really sad state of affairs. It only seems to get worse now. Like it's definitely getting a lot worse now with social media and everything. So yeah, I don't know how we fix it, Nick. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the only way I can see that you fix that is just educating people to become stronger in themselves and be able to become so authentic in yourself and so comfortable in who you are that you're able to then listen to your gut and actually make decisions according to what you want to do. Because, like you're saying there, it just has such a profound impact on decisions you make. And I think anyone listening to this has been through it at some point. I've been through it so many times where I've had people around me, even parents, where they're telling you, not to do this. They're driving fear in you. It's not coming from a negative place. It's coming from conditioning or
Mm.
from people seeing only knowing their own path and projecting that onto someone else. Sometimes it might be someone that is not is scared of seeing someone in their group go and do something different because they don't want to have their own sort of thoughts challenged. And it becomes, I guess, on social media, we've got echo chambers where people just join these communities and reinforce their own point. And it is really sad and dangerous on so many levels because we need to be able to debate. The only, I'm lucky that I've got a girlfriend that literally won't let me get away with anything. So no matter what I'm doing, and it's infuriating sometimes, but it makes you grow and it makes you confront your own. You can't get away with your own bullshit. So it's so important.
Absolutely, and I think too, it's like having someone be accountable for you too, and like you've got to be accountable for your own actions. But it's nice to have someone that is on you to say, "Hey, Nick, you're not doing that right, or you're not, the bar, you're dropping your standards below the bar, or and it is you need someone to be there to, obviously be your butt kicker, and like I'm blessed in the sense that I've got a mentor that yeah, she kicks my butt all the time, and she was like when I started out with her. There's a lot of my friends go, "What are you doing that for? It's such a waste of money." And well, the results show Nick in a published book, and from where I was 10 years ago, wanting to end my life to where I am today, I'm a totally different person, and it takes courage. It takes courage to be bold and go against the grain and not follow the crowd. And your friends and everything that says that you shouldn't do this. But there's just something that is, I know a path that I'm on, mate. I know why I'm here. I know that I'm here to help people, and I've got a story that can inspire and help others. And for me, that's more important. And I'll lose friends. I've already lost friends because of the new life that I've chosen, and but I'm okay with that. Like sometimes I think you have to be selfish. You have to go against other advice, because in your own heart of hearts, if you know that you're on purpose and you know you're focused on what you're going to achieve, I think you've just got to block out that noise and go. And I think too, if you yeah, okay, you could fail, but sometimes our greatest lessons are in failure. Like, we learn from our failures, and the most successful people in the world have failed more times than they've succeeded. But it's through those lessons that they've learned that then that's what makes them successful. And I might end up with egg on my face, but I'm already a winner, Nick, because I tried. And some people, that's the biggest thing. Some people don't try.
Exactly right. And that's the thing. I think failing is the best way that it's not really failing, because it's the best education we can get. So it's again part of that cultural thing where you're taught to be afraid of taking any risk, of doing anything out of the ordinary, and that fear stops you from actually doing these things that are going to help you grow, because it doesn't matter. Like you're saying, the times that I've had the most anxiety in my life have been zero to do with whether I was achieving or not. It was always when I was afraid to actually just take a chance on myself, to take a risk, to go and do what I know I needed to do to get there. Acting is one of the things I do, and you're getting rejected for a living doing that. And, when I'd put that off, I had more anxiety than the actual rejection, because the rejection's not really that scary, because as long as you're doing everything you can to be true to yourself, then then you've already won. Like you're saying, it doesn't matter what the result is by that point. That's a bonus. But I think it's flipping that sort of way that we look at things.
Absolutely. And I think most people fear rejection. Well, you can learn to harness rejection, and it can actually become a superpower. And I say that in the sense of, if you don't fear rejection, you can, what does it matter anyway? That if you do, at least you had a go. And you're already ahead of 99% of others who don't try. And fear, you can either let fear, harness you, or you can harness the fear, and you can push forward. And I like you, Nick. I had fear of when I was starting to write my story. I was like, who's going to read my story? Like, I don't really have a story. And then as I started writing it, I went, oh wow, okay, there is something here. Like, and then when people started reading it, they're like, oh, there's a lot here, Adam. You like, this is really, really good. You need to, like, this needs to be published. And then I put it out to a publisher. I got rejected. The first publisher rejected me, and that was a bit of a hit to the ego. Like, it was. I'm not going to lie, Nick. It was pretty. Oh, okay, maybe it's not as good as you think. And then, but you learn from it, and they gave me some really great advice to say that it's not ready. You need to go away and write some more, and they gave me a roadmap to, like, get it finished. And then I pitched it to another publisher, and then they said yes. So it was, everything. I'm a massive believer in everything happens for a reason, and everything comes into your life at the right time. And I'm a massive believer in that. And I think you, in what's happened in your life too, is exactly the same.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And that's why we have to, be brave and face those fears, because it's often only when you look back on it that you can actually see how all of these things connected and, got you to where you were. So if you're sort of trying to get all the answers while you're on that journey, you're going to sabotage the journey. You're not going to get there. It's like trying to run a marathon and asking, but I need to know what time I'm going to finish it in. Well, you won't be able to finish it. You just got to put one foot in front of the other. So it's just about, not thinking too far forward.
It's great that you bring that up because I actually did my first triathlon last year, and I trained for a year for it, and I
Yeah.
had a plan in my head of how I was going to do the triathlon, and then everything went wrong on the day. Everything went wrong. It was I got a cramp in my leg that straight into the swim, and then I thought, oh, it'll ease up, and then got on the bike, and it just got tighter and tighter, and then I had to change my whole game plan on how I was going to attack the triathlon, and I had to I had to problem solve throughout the race, and I'd
Mm.
never done it. I'd never done a triathlon before, and I'm sitting there going, just put one foot in front of the other. Just keep going. Just don't stop. Just keep as much pain as you're in. Just keep going. It's worth it. And I'd be seeing people that I would be running behind that you can almost tell when they give up because they throw their head back and they just stop. And that just kept driving me to go. I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to stop. And then it was just I just had that determination that I was going to finish the race, and I did, and I finished it in under 2 hours, and I was going for an hour 45, and I just missed that. Even with the cramp, I ended up getting an hour and 51 minutes, but it was still
Oh wow.
it was great.
Yeah.
Like it was, and yeah, problem solving throughout the race, and we've all got a perfect plan, but sometimes our best laid plans don't come off, and you've got to problem solve as you go along, and that's that's what it is. If you can problem solve, well, that's half the battle, and that's where you learn a lot. And I learned a lot about myself during that event, and things that I thought were impossible, I proved to myself that they're not impossible. And from losing 166 kilos, like I was 166 kilos, and I've dropped 66 kilos in 5 years. Like I hated running. I hated running. I hated. You mentioned exercise. I hated it. Like it was just something that we just did not. We just did not go together. But now it's part of my day to day life. I absolutely love exercise now. Like it's been a huge part of my growth and my journey, and my healing really is been part of exercise has been huge, and all the other things that I've implemented as well. So yeah, definitely, as you say, very important that and just people long give up their mind, like their body will give up long before their mind does. And if you're strong in the mind, you can achieve anything.
Yeah, it's so well put, mate, and such a good analogy for life. What you're talking about there with the problem solving, because no matter what plan we have, it's never going to go exactly accordingly. So I think it's just a really good way to look at it. But yeah, I'm super interested to hear about your story. I mean, you're talking about you've overcome mental health issues. You were getting to a point, I think, from what I read and what you said of being almost suicidal, uh, losing all of the weight. Yeah, I'd love. Can you just give me a background on yourself and your story, what you came through, and what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. So I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 6, and 25 years ago, like in 2024, it's not so much of a big deal having ADHD, but 25 years ago, it was huge. There wasn't a
Mm.
lot of information around ADHD. I was ostracized by my teacher and my peers straight away because I struggled. And school has never came easy, and things still today that I learned don't come easy, and it was hard, mate. Like it was a really hard going through primary school was tough because I was really heavily bullied. I to put it into perspective for your listeners, I was a redheaded kid with freckles, so straight away, even without ADHD, having red hair, there's always something about redheads that we always seem to cop it. I don't know why, but yeah, we always seem to cop it. So I was, yeah, heavily bullied. I was told by my year 6 teacher that I'd amount to nothing in life. That was his parting gift. Heavily bullied in high
Yeah,
school. Yeah, just that was
unbelievable.
his, an influential person at an age. And at that stage, Nick, I didn't realise that my self-esteem was just getting eroded away, and I didn't know at the time that I didn't have a resilient shield then, and I didn't have the intellect to understand what was happening, and so yeah, my self esteem was really low, and then I went into high school and things got worse, and then yeah, I was laughed at, I was teased, so what I did was I started to comfort eat, so I just turned to eating and got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then by the time I finished high school, I was 120 kilo kid that was just didn't have any self esteem, and was really really low, and I then entered the workforce, and in your early 20s, Nick, everyone should be in, like, especially young males should be in the prime of their life, looking, to chase girls, go out and do all that, and I was getting, like, I'd go out clubbing, and I still remember it was a girl at a pub. I was at a bar. I'd lined up to get a drink, and I spun around, and she said I was the ugliest person she'd ever seen in her life, and that hurts. Like that. That's still, even today. But I've realised now that how shallow she was, and I actually wrote about it in the book, and I put a funny twist on it actually, and made fun of the whole situation. But it was terrible, and then it was 2014, and I was working, and my boss at the time came up to me one fateful day in September, and he called me a liar, a bludger, and a thief. And like throughout my early years of being in the workforce, I was told that, oh, you're such a waste of space. The world would be better without you in it. And if you're told this for a long time, you start to believe what they're saying, and I did. I started to believe that, maybe the world would be a better place if I wasn't here, and I maybe I do the world a favor and end my life, and I was just getting worse and worse and sliding, and I was trying to numb the pain that I was feeling, so I turned to alcohol and drugs, and trying to just wipe the pain that I was feeling away. And the highs were great, but the lows were low and crap. And then I'd turn around and do it again and again, and then eventually my boss got to the point where he turned up, said what he said, and it was just that day I had the fog, and then I just went, well, you know what? If he thinks that, the whole world thinks that. Today's the day that I end my life. And so the fog cleared, and I drove. So I parked up, left work. I drove past my house in complete silence with the radio off. I drove up to the lookout that I was going to end my life, and there was no one around. It was a dark, gloomy afternoon, and no one was around. And I put my wallet and my keys on the bonnet of my car, and I walked up to the cliff, and I looked out to the mountains for one last time, and the drop's steep, like Nick, and I was willingly going to throw myself off, and there was no guilt. There was no I knew I was clear on what I was going to do, and I knew that there was no coming back, and I felt free for the first time in my life. I felt free of everything. There was, as I say, no guilt, no pain, and I just felt free. And the cloud had lifted out of the fog had lifted out of my head, and I looked out one final time, and the drop was steep, and I wasn't coming back. And as I was about to throw myself off, the clouds parted, the sun shone through, and my late Nana, we were very, very close, and she's my guardian angel. She's with me every day, and she spoke to me that day, and she said, "Adam, step back, make a call, and and stop what you're doing." And it was that that moment of clarity that I needed to realize what I was about to do. And I then spoke to a friend on the phone for 4.5 hours, and he talked me down. And then a I went to the doctors. I didn't tell my parents for a long time what I'd done. I went to the doctors the next day. I didn't care if I did lost my job. I didn't care. I went to the doctors, did a mental health test, and scored off the charts. I was severe depression and severe anxiety, and then started a 3 year journey trying to find the right psychologist to help me through and get me to safer waters. And I went overseas in that time as well. So I went to Europe, and I traveled for 6 months, which was huge on my own. And I talk about that in the book. And then I just started the journey and the process of trying to get myself better. And I looked at, like, I saw other people, Nick, that were happy, and I'm like, why? Like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? That I want to be like them. I want to, I want to be happy in life. And so then I started getting curious, and then I went to, so as I said, it took 3 years to find the right psychologist, and then I went and worked through all my childhood trauma, and I found this one guy who he's still my psychologist today, and he's fantastic. And he said, Adam, he said, we've dealt with all your childhood problems, but he said, mate, the elephant in the room is your weight. And he said, you're 166 kilos. And he said, mate, if you lose weight, your life will change. And I went, oh, okay. And and I think I was in denial, Nick. Like, I knew I was big, but I didn't know that I was as big as what I was. And I think I put it off a couple of times and went, oh yeah, let's talk about something else. And he said, he goes, no, Adam. And then finally the last time I went to him, he said, Adam, he said, I can keep taking your money, but I'm not going to do that. He's like, for you to change, you need to lose weight. He said, if you lose weight, your life will change. And then I was training 6 days a week with a personal trainer, and I wasn't getting anywhere. Like, I wasn't getting any results. And then I went and saw a surgeon and said, I saw my doctor, and they referred me to a specialist to have gastric sleeve surgery. And at first, the first doctor said, no, you're too young. I'm not going to recommend you for the surgery. And I went, well, I'm going to get a second opinion. And one of my other doctors said, Adam, I've known you your whole life. I've treated you since you were a baby. I know you've struggled with weight. I think it's going to be the best thing that's ever happened to you. I'm going to recommend you for the surgery. And I walked in to the surgeon, and he basically said to me, he goes, mate, you're 27 years old. He said, you keep going the way you're going now. He said, you'll be dead by 34. And I went, what? And he said, yep, you'll be dead by 34. And I went, oh, okay. And he said, mate, your blood sugar level is 38. He said, so you're borderline diabetic. A normal blood sugar level is between 5 and 7. And he said, you're in heart attack or stroke country. And if you don't do something, you'll be dead by 34. And that was the hardest thing to hear, Nick. And I walked out of his office feeling like I was an absolute failure. Like, I'd had that suicide attempt at 22, and then I got to 27, and then I got this second blow. And that was when I really looked at myself and went, well, Adam, you've got two choices. You can either live and be unhappy, and live out the next 9 years in discomfort, and live out the way that you are now, or you can choose to change. And that's what I did. I decided that I was going to take option B, and I was going to turn my life around, and then started the process of turning my life around. But in that same year, Nick, I was also diagnosed with binocular vision. So I only see half a picture. A part of my brain didn't develop on top of the ADHD with the learning difficulties. Another part of my brain didn't develop, and so I only see half a picture. It affects my hand-eye coordination, reading a book, writing jumps off the page, and glasses can't change that at all. And I was born, like, after, just going back a little bit, not when I was 9 months old, my eyes turned in all of a sudden, and they thought I had a brain tumor. So I had to get I had to get the muscles behind my eyes tightened, and then I went and saw this specialist with the binocular vision, and he said to me that, Adam, he's like, you can go one of two ways with what's happened with your eyes. You can have better than 20/20 vision, which you've got in one sense, but in the other sense, you've got what's binocular vision. And so it affects like the pressure in your eyes, and so your eyes get very sore, and focusing is very hard. And I said, well, what can we do? And he's like, well, there's nothing we can do, Adam. The ages that we can do anything is between 4 and 12. And I was 27 at the time. So, and I said, well, what does that mean, Doc? And he said, well, your brain has found a way to cope in its own way to learn. And he said, theoretically, Adam, he said, you should be on a disability pension. He said, you shouldn't be doing what you do. He's like, you shouldn't be able to drive. You just shouldn't be doing what you do in life. And so I just went, oh, okay. And yeah, so learning has never become easy. It's never been easy for me in my whole life. But I look at it now, Nick, and would I change anything? No, because it's made me who I am today.
Wow, well, thank you for sharing that, mate. What a story. I mean, so many levels to that. And like you're saying, it's just such an amazing perspective to be able to sit here and say, you've been through all these things, but you wouldn't change it because you wouldn't be who you are now, and you wouldn't be able to go and make the impact you're having. You wouldn't have the experience to give back. So it's a crazy thing. But I mean, the amount of obstacles you've had to deal with, it's enormous. And, you should be so proud of yourself, because I think it's just such an example for anyone. Me listening to what you were talking about then, I was thinking, wow, I haven't had to overcome anywhere near as, anything as difficult as that. And it made me think, wow, I should push myself harder. It really does inspire you. So I think it's just amazing. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, please click the subscribe button, leave a like or comment, share with your friends, and follow me on Instagram at NickBrax. I really appreciate your ongoing support.
No, thanks. I really appreciate that. And sometimes, look, I'm my harshest critic, and so I get frustrated when I don't get things, and I'm frustrated because I'm like, oh, if only I could just get it a little bit easier. But I think it's a struggle, but it's a struggle that I am grateful for. And as you said, it's made me who I am today. And like all those struggles and everything like that I've learned along this journey it's made me, the values I have are because of the struggles that I've gone through. I owe my parents everything. My parents are like, they invested so much time, money, and effort into getting extra help for me growing up, and my brother as well. Like my brother, he's got ADD as well, and he had learning difficulties as well. And my parents just, they just found a way. Like we are a middle class Australian family where like mum and dad just found the money. I don't know how they did, but they found a way, and every success that I've had now is because of those years that mum and dad invested in us as kids. And I'm forever grateful for my parents. I wouldn't be where I am today, Nick, without them. Like they're my rocks. They both, I can like go to them and ask advice, and like their hard work, the fruits are ripening now with my book and everything because of the time that they invested in those earlier years. And like I know kids that I went to school with that had exactly similar to me, that their parents didn't invest in them, and they're sitting in jail. They're now in jail, and like our next door neighbour told mum and dad that Scott and I would end up in jail, and like we've never had run-ins with police ever. We're both firefighters. We give back to the community, and I think it's just, I think any young person who listens to this, Nick, is that if your parents, they do care, and they're only, and I think it's only something that I've realised when I got into my 30s, was that my parents only had my best interest at heart. They were only trying to help me get through the tough times, and because they've got lived experience. They know, they've gone through similar, and they're trying to help you and guide you through and get you through that tough period of your life. And it is like, I've got into my 30s now and realized that, yeah, my parents were only trying to help me. And any young person that listens to this, yeah, your parents are always there trying to help you. They want to see you be the greatest version of yourself, and that's a parent. That's what a parent does. And I'm just, as I say, Nick, I very, very humble, very grateful for my parents and my brother. And yeah, it has been a journey, and as I say, mate, like, I'm sure we'll get into it in a minute of how I changed and started to, the processes that I did to overcome things and get to where I am today.
Absolutely. And it's a good point. Parents, we can get frustrated with, but they always, we might not agree, but they are doing it from a place of love and having our best interests. But as you're talking about that, another question I have is, if you had to pinpoint what's one core thing that would have helped you when you were younger, going through those experiences, like what change could have prevented you from, going down such a path? For anyone listening, I guess, what would be something that could have helped you?
That's a really great question, and I'm glad you asked it, Nick, because I think back now, as I said, 25 years ago, ADHD with learning difficulties was a big thing, and I'm not, Nick. I'm not a victim anymore. I am not a victim. I'm not. I'm not looking for sympathy. It's made me who I am today. But I think the teachers back then, like, I was getting bullied, and like, I'd go to them and they just go, "Oh, get over it," or like, move on, or they'd ostracize me from my classmates and put me to the side, and that, for a young kid, like, you're different. You're alienated because you're not, you feel you're not normal. Like, you actually feel, well, there's something wrong with me. Like, I'm being ostracized by the teacher, and for what? Like, I don't understand what you're teaching me. I don't get it. And I had this conversation with my late nan before she died, was that I always used to say I'm stupid and I'm useless, and my nan said to me on many times, she said, "Adam, you're not useless. You're my special boy. You just don't pick things up as quick as what other people do. You are still normal. You are a normal young boy." But she said to me that whatever you do in life, when you find your purpose, you will be like, you are here for greatness. You will do great things in this world. And I think, I wish, looking back now, mate, that I wish the teachers had have listened, and really listened, and like, actually listened to my concerns. I was reaching out for help because I was struggling, and they didn't, and like, my parents were great. They were like, "Look, it's all right. You just, like, build your sticks and stones may break my bones, and words will never harm me." And like they said, "You've got to be the bigger person, rise above it." That was great from my parents, but my teachers just didn't listen. They just did not listen, and I don't think that they were equipped to really teach people with, back then. I think it's different now, but back then, it was, they just didn't, they just didn't listen. And every time I'd say I need help, they would just go, oh, and just keep pushing me to the side and work with the kids that understand it. And I say this to any teacher now, is that if the kids that understand it, you need to be putting more time into the kids that don't get it, because we're the ones that need the help, because we are struggling. But a lot of teachers just seem to go, oh, well, we'll just work with the kids that understand it and get it. But if they get it, they understand it, Nick. They can, they can progress quicker than people who don't get it. And yeah, so that would be the one thing that I wished back then, that teachers just would have listened. And I think now I can't speak because I haven't been in a classroom for 14 years, but I think it's getting better. I haven't been to a school, but I hope it's getting better.
Yeah, it's a huge one. And I think it is getting better, but it's still got a long way to go. And, I think it probably varies from school to school. I don't know exactly what the situation is myself either, but it's such a important point. At that age, you need that attention. And, we get conditioned to think if we're not able to pick up on things, or, if I was similar, I've got ADHD and I only got diagnosed actually not even that long ago. And I always...
How was that for you? How was that for you, getting diagnosed later in life?
A relief, because I have always thought differently, and actually very similar to like what you were saying your nan said to you. I would always take a long time to grasp things, whatever I was learning. But then once I got it, I would go like boom, and I'd become almost better than other people. And I've sort of tried. I remember my mum saying that to me when I was very young. She's like, it's okay, you take a long time to get used to it, but then when you get it better than anyone. So I really kept that in my mind. But, my own journey, I sort of had severe depression in my 20s and alcohol abuse, and had grown up in a well-known family, and this whole thing happening, and, saw countless psychologists and all sorts of things. And, worked on myself a lot and got improved continually, but finding out about the ADHD was just a relief to be like able to pinpoint, okay, this isn't the only reason this stuff's happened, but here's how my brain works. And this explains so many things. It explains why I struggle to be still and, read a document, or all these different things, and things you shame yourself about, things that you get frustrated about it, and then because of that, I was able to just elevate my life further and think, okay, you know what? By adapting, been able to start all these businesses, do stuff in entertainment. Probably actually was why I went down that path, because these are all things where having ADHD is actually an advantage for. Like we're doing now, a podcast, public speaking, all these things. But when I found out about it, I thought, well, this is great. Because I've been thrown in that situation, I've learned all these skills that a lot of people don't have. I'm now going to learn the skills everyone else has, and then you've got everything. Like, so, I found it super exciting to find out that I had it, in short.
It's like having ADHD is like you get to bring out your creativity side a lot more, and I actually think like you give some people are great, like they can read engineering or mechanics, and that goes, for someone with ADHD, that goes straight over my head. I go, what are you talking about? Just give me the simple basics of, all right, I need to check the oil, I need to check my water, my coolant, my tire pressure. That's it. Don't lose learning all that of how an engine runs and all. Forget it. It's just it goes in and out for me. Probably same for you and most people.
Simplicity. Yeah.
But having that creativity side, it actually gives you free license to go, well, actually I can create, and it's all in your head. You can create amazing things in your head, and then you bring it out to fruition and you go, wow, that's actually really cool. And I look at, because I got asked that question last week at the book launch. Someone said, would you, having ADHD now, do you see it as a burden, or do you see it as is it a gift? And I said, no, it's a gift. I said, it's absolutely a gift. I said, it has made me who I am today. Like, I wouldn't be where I am today without, because I think you couldn't, you couldn't go through what I've gone through and come out the other side if if I didn't look at it as a gift, and it is like, and and I think that's why I've got creative, and I've got to the point of where I like now I look for positive mentors. I do meditation every day. I do 15 minutes of silence. Every morning I wake up, I do my prayer, I do my visualization, my gratefulness, my gratitude work, and that's where I have changed. And people ask me like, how have you changed? And it's because I've implemented these things into my life of meditation, exercise, gratefulness, visualization, gratitude, ice baths, and I just surround myself with quality people, Nick, that only want to see me succeed and don't want to pull me down. And I journal every single day. And I think why these are great. Podcasts are great because, mate, we are slowly but surely with men, we are breaking down that stigma of it's not weak to speak. It's actually a sign of strength. And speaking up takes courage, mate. It took massive courage for me to speak up, and it took, it took everything that I had in me to say, hey, I need help. I'm in trouble. I'm struggling here. But speaking up saved my life. I wouldn't be here today speaking to you. There would be no Easy Target. There would be no podcast of, True Blue Conversations. There wouldn't be a podcast. I wouldn't be here. I'd be a statistic on the wall. And I think I did a podcast yesterday, and one of the guys asked me, what advice can you give to someone who is struggling? And the greatest advice that I can give to people who are struggling, or how do people approach someone who is struggling, is just listen. Just listen to what they're saying. No judgment, just listen to what they're actually saying, and actually just hear them and really hear them out. And because, Nick, the old cliche of, we all say it where we've got people go, oh, are you okay? And Nick, you hear that and you go, yeah, I'm fine. But what I do is I ask it twice, because the second time, because you can blow that off. The first time, are you okay? People blow it off. They just go, oh, yeah, I'm fine. As the second time, when I say, Nick, are you okay? That you've got to stop and process. Actually, no, I am struggling a little bit, or I need a bit of help, or I just need a chat. And so the biggest advice I say to anyone is that if you do know of someone struggling, just listen to them, listen to what they're saying, and just offer a little bit of advice, or say, hey, look, I really think what you've told me, I really think you need to go and see a professional, someone who's trained, that can just give you, and I go to my psychologist every 3 to 6 months, and I call it I get the oil and brake change. So I get the oil change and I get the brakes changed, and then I'm good again. And it's just, that's what I do now as well. And journaling, I journal every single day, and that has helped me, because you can only build it up inside for so long, and then you've got to get it out. Whether you speak it out, whether you journal it, whatever, you have to get it out. Your thoughts, you have to get them out, because otherwise that's when it starts to turn toxic and really bad, and can send you back down. And I know myself now, Nick, I can catch myself of when I know I'm in a bad state. Like I know the signs of when I'm slipping, and I just go, okay, all right. But I'm not hard on myself. Like I used to be so hard. I'm like, now I go, okay, today's going to be an off day. It's just going to be an off day. Okay. All right. I don't know why. I'm off today. I really don't. But I'm only going to be today. Today's the day. Tomorrow, when that sun rises again, it's a new day, and I'm getting up, and I'm going to go and live my life, and I'm not going to slide and sit in this for too long. I'm getting back to being on that frequency, and being up there, being happy and positive again. And that's what I do now. I only allow myself a day, and if it goes on a little bit longer, then I go, okay, maybe what is triggering me? What is that trigger? What is it that is keeping me down in this negative vibration? I need to get back to that positive frequency. And then I journal, and then I go for a run, or I do an ice bath or something that then I go, okay, all right. And then generally I come out of it the other side. So, and I think, yeah, just anyone who is struggling, don't be hard on yourself. Like we're our own worst critic, Nick. You know it yourself. We're our own worst
Yeah.
critic, and we self-sabotage so much when really we don't need, like, we just need to be kinder and kinder. I've learned through my whole journey, Nick, that being kind to people and giving more than you expect to receive, it's great. Like, honestly, it is fantastic because it puts you in a state of that if you give more than you expect to receive, when you receive something, it's a blessing. It's a total blessing, and it's a gift. And I thank God every day of the blessings that I've got, and but I always give, and people go, "You're so nice," and I said, "Well, I just treat people the way that I want to be treated. That I give respect, and I get it back, and that's how I've changed because." Positivity attracts positivity, negativity attracts negativity, and you know it too, Nick. When you're surrounded by negativity, you don't really want to be. Like, I look at it now, especially someone who's positive. I go, oh yuck, no, get me away from that. I can't be surrounded by that
Yeah.
negativity anymore. I need to be. I need to find my tribe. I need to be, and that's the biggest advice I can give to anyone is that if you are struggling, find a tribe, find your tribe, people that only want to lift you up and, see you succeed. And that's what I've got now. I've got a really tight knit, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have hundreds of people in your tribe. You can have, 5 or 10 that have always, that have got your back. And that's what I've found now is I've got my tribe of people that are there and only want to see me succeed. And that's what I say to people. That's the first step. You need to understand that you've got a problem. You need to attack that problem, and you need to, you then need to find the steps. But it's got to come from within, Nick. You've got to be the one that's got to do the work because no one else is going to do it for you. And I haven't just got to where I am now, 10 years from that suicide attempt. There's been a lot of work that's gone into getting me to where I am, and as I say to anyone, everyone's amazing when the ball is bouncing in your court. Everyone says, and the cards are all dealt your way. Everyone says, "Oh, you're amazing!" Like, everyone says, "Oh, Nick, look at you! You're on camera. You know everything," but they don't see the work that you've done and the rejection that you've had, and the constant rejections to, you lead it, like you get a lead role. They don't see the work that's gone in behind the scenes, and everyone's amazing. But when the cards are dealt the other way and the ball's bouncing in the other court, you've got to look into yourself, and there's some really ugly truths that you have to face. And I've had to face some really ugly truths about myself in writing the book, and that was the hardest thing I ever had to do, but it was the most cathartic thing that I've done as well. And I'm really, yeah, I've that's what I've done to turn my life around from. And if you had said to me that 10 years ago, where I was at my lowest point, 10 years forward, what would I have said to Adam on the cliff that day? I would have said to him, strap yourself in. You're in for a wild ride, a journey of self-discovery. But through all the pain and struggles, you're going to come out stronger and be the new improved Adam 2.0. And the new improved Adam 2.0, he's a pretty good bloke. So, yeah, and that's what I would have said to the young 22-year-old Adam on the cliff that day.
I love it, mate. You're doing my job for me. You're answering a few quite in that you answered about 3 of the questions I had there, which is great. And I think it's just I love what you're saying, and I think having the right people around you is critical. That old saying, we become the product of the 5 people we spend most of our time with, is pretty true. We need to make sure we're aware of that. For me, with ADHD, I think anxiety has probably been the thing I've struggled with the most, anxiety and overwhelm. And I was really resonating with what you were saying there, where whenever I've put too much pressure on myself, or if I overanalyze things or think too far ahead, or if you're having a bad day, you're starting to get anxious, you question things, and it can go on. So I started doing exactly what you were talking about, where, you just accept it. Okay, you know what? I don't feel good now. Who cares? Who cares what the reason is? It doesn't even matter. Even if I know what the reason is, it actually doesn't matter. What am I going to do right now? Okay. And I'm trying to achieve some big task. You're writing a book. If I think about the end result of that and how much I'm going to have to go through to get there, you probably won't start. So the
And
ironic thing is, if you put too much pressure on yourself, you hold yourself back. Whereas if you just be gentle and say, you know what, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just going to write 1 page right now. That's it. And then you'll
Mhm.
probably write 10 pages. And, the next day you might write 20. And you just got to approach everything in life like that, I think, because it's just, there's no other way. Yeah.
Well, and great point you touch on there is that, yeah, like writing was like I just set myself a goal of like my exercise, and my mentor, she told me this because she got up me when I was, and because I was struggling, I was really struggling to write, and she said, Adam, I can't write your book for you. You need to do the work. And I left out a couple of colourful words that she put in, but it was great. It was what I needed. It was the kick that I needed. But she said, Adam, treat it like your fitness. Like you train
Yeah.
every day, write 250 words. And I said, Janine, I'll do better than that. I'll do 500 words a day. And that's what I did, mate. I wrote 500 words a day every day. There were some days that I only wrote 250 and I closed the laptop. I was like, no, it's not today. But I wasn't hard on myself because I was like, it's okay. And then there was other days where I'd write 4, 5, 6,000 words a day. And I was just
Yep.
like, okay, great. And it averaged out to be about 7,000 words a week. That was what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't hard on myself because I looked at it and went, well, I always just went back to the why. Why am I writing this book? What is the reason that I'm writing this book? And I always got back to the point of I want to help people who are struggling and have been where I am. Where I was, where I am, and where I'm going, because I know that I'm shifting into a better version of myself. And that was the reason I just kept writing every day. I was like, go back to, because people often ask me, how do you write a book? And I'm like, we've always got to have a why. Why are you writing the book? What is the purpose of the book? And if you always stay true to that, you are going to often, and there's times where, look, self-doubt came in big time. I was like, and I had a couple of conversations with Janine and go, is this too big? Am I thinking that I can write a book, get it published, become a motivational speaker? Is it all too much? Am I dreaming? And she just kept saying, Adam, keep going. I believe in you. Keep going, keep going. And that's what I did, mate. I just kept going and kept writing. And then it just ended up, it finished. Like one day the book was finished and I looked and went, oh, wow. Like, and, it went for 2.5 years, but it was just amazing to get to that end picture and that end goal. And I didn't have a vision of it finished. I just kept writing, Nick, and I just kept
Yeah.
going and going and going. And I think if I had have, like you said, seen that picture, I probably wouldn't have started. Same as my podcast. The work that's involved in a podcast, people think you just hit play, Nick, and I know what it's like with like you as well being a podcaster. It doesn't just happen. Like, you're in the US, I'm in Australia, we're making it work. And I do the same thing with my guests as well, is that you find time. You've just got to, and people just think, oh, yeah, you just hit play. No, there's so much work that goes into a podcast, and same as a book. There's so much work. And I think people, like, they want to see like, they want it, but they don't want to do the work sometimes. And I think, I really, like, if I had have, like you said, if I had have visioned, I probably never would have started. And
Yeah.
I'm just one that just, all right, I'm going to do that, and I'll just find a way. And then I just don't think of the work. I just go and do it, and just keep going. And I think that's set me in a really great stead of where I am today. And like going forward, I know that I do want to be a motivational speaker, and my story, I really do believe people can benefit from my story, and my story will save lives. And I had it at the book launch last week where, as I said,
Yeah.
the lady, spoke up and said, you've saved my life. And she went away and read my book, and then she got in contact with me, and she just burst into tears and said, my son is in a dark place as well. He's now reading the book and he's relating to your story. And that, mate, if that's all my book does, is it just helps those two people, well, my job's done. That was the intention. That was what I wanted to do. It was to help just one person save their life and realize that they're not alone, and they can, they can turn their life around, and they can go from surviving to thriving. And that's what it is, mate. That's what it's all about. And I think, as you said, with mental health, we are both advocates of it because, there's too many statistics on the wall. And I think men are getting better. I think we are these days, like, Nick, you've gone through it. My dad's generation were Vietnam veterans, and my grandfather was a World War II veteran. So that era and that generation were told real men don't speak. It's weak to speak. You don't speak. Men just harden up, just get on with it. And no, I'm sorry, that doesn't fly today. We've got feelings and emotions just like, our female friends and family, and we've got emotions too, mate. We feel emotions, and what? We can't show them? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. And we are getting, like, today's younger generation is getting better in showing their emotions. There's still work to be done. There's still a lot of work to be done, because there's still a stigma, mate. There is still a stigma if you do speak up, and it is, but for me now, that stigma's gone, mate. I'm proud to be a suicide survivor. I wear that badge with honour, mate. I really do. I am proud to be where I am today, and that's why I will forever, if I'm given the opportunity, mate, I will forever speak up, and because I want to help people. I know my purpose. I know why I'm here, and the more we talk about it and the more we come together, the stronger we are, that we can start getting those statistics off those walls, mate, and save. Like, I've had Nick in my year group of when we graduated school. I've had four classmates end their life with suicide. Like, 4 people that,
Wow.
and one of the guys I met a couple of weeks before he died, and he was happy. He was like, "Hey mate, how you going? Yep." And then a couple of weeks later, ended his life. And I wish now that I had have just, like, spoken to him a little bit more, and realised that, he was in a bad way, and but he put a mask on, and we all do, Nick. You've put a mask on. I've put a mask on. Everyone's good at putting masks on, but I think we're getting better, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to eventually get this to be that it is people are comfortable to come forward and talk about their, how they feel, and we need more than these. We've got Are You OK Day and World Suicide Prevention Day, but Nick, we should be doing it every day. We should be checking in on our family and friends every day, not just 2 days of the year. Every day. We should make it that we check in on 5 to 10 people every day and just say, "Hey, are you all good? Do you need to have a chat?" And, and the old saying of life's busy and life gets busy. Well, no, you make time for the important things. And to be honest,
Exactly.
Suicide prevention is, it's important, and it should be something that is done daily. That's my belief. And I don't look. There's probably people that think, it's silly, but no, I do. I believe in it every day, that we should be checking in on our family and friends.
Well, if everyone did that, it's almost certain that some of these suicides would be prevented, because, like you're
100%.
saying, you don't know who's going through it. And yeah, it has come a long way, but it does have so much further to go with men. And I've seen it in the talks that I've done in companies where it's still so far behind, and there's so many there's so many men that just still don't know how to talk about it, don't know where to go, don't have that support system around them. So yeah, it's so important.
Well, I think too, Nick, they don't know how to show their emotions. Like,
Exactly.
and I'm guessing for you, when you're talking to, like, companies, these are guys in their mid 40s and the early 50s, and they weren't shown how to show emotion, and that's where they struggle. And I think that if we break it down more, and that they can show their emotions, they would have a better workspace too, and a better workplace, because I think showing emotion, it's a healthy thing. It really is.
Yeah,
It's something that is you. It shows that you're human and you've got a human side. And I think sometimes in corporations and corporate that it is lost. And same as construction and any form of work that you can't show emotion. Well, yes, you can. Like we're human, Nick. At the end of the day, we're human
yeah,
beings. Like that's the greatest thing, to be honest, that I think we've got is that we can show emotion, and and showing emotions.
exactly.
It's a great thing, and I know we're getting on, Nick, so I'll let you wrap it up. But I just want to say to people out there that who are struggling, you're not alone, and you're never alone. There is always someone out there that is willing to listen, and it's not weak to speak. It's a sign of strength, and speaking up can save your life because it saved mine. And I just want to thank Nick for the opportunity to share my story.
It's a powerful message, mate. It's a really powerful one, and we will finish up in a sec. I finish with 5 closing questions that they can be sort of quick answers, whatever comes to mind for those. Just one more question for you, and then also just quickly want to ask you about the book and where people can get it. But
Yep.
with your story, I mean, we talked a bit before about you know getting things down into bite-sized chunks. I mean, I did the same for my book. I set that I have to write X amount per week, and I do that with everything now. Where if it's tangible, if I'm like, even when I was trying to find producers for my TV series, I said I'm going to contact 5 producers a day, and then I know there's nothing like my mind can't wander, and it just gets your momentum. So when you were at that low point, pulling yourself out of it, how did you build that resilience to get yourself momentum and get to where you came? Because I think people that are struggling and stuck in that point, I think it would really be beneficial for them to hear that.
Yeah, so great question. So I started, and there was days where I didn't want to get out of bed. I just, that was my safe haven at home. I didn't want to get out of bed, but I just set myself little goals at first. So I'd get up to make a coffee, and then when I made a coffee, I was like, okay, cool, I can get up and make a coffee. Great. Then I started to, all right, well, if I can make a coffee, then I can go and sit out on the back veranda and drink that coffee. And then that started with the baby steps of, okay, well, then I can start exercising and just walking to the end of the street and then turning back and coming back. And then it just slowly started to build from the baby steps. And as I started to do more things, that's when I started to build a little bit of confidence and go, okay, well, and it was a slow process, Nick. It wasn't just, all right, bang, this is a week. Okay, all right, now I'm going to, start doing like getting on and talking to people. And it was a slow process. But I just took baby steps. I was like, okay, cool. I can make a coffee, then go for a walk, and then just be kind to myself. And then I just started to get momentum and that momentum started to build and build and build. And then I started attracting people and started sharing my story. And then people just kept coming into my life. And then I started to lose the weight. And then everything just amplified after that. Like losing the weight, I have to give it to my psychologist. He was right. as soon as I lost the weight, my life just it just projected forward and it just changed dramatically. But I still did the work. I still, it wasn't just the weight fell off, and like I was still doing the work every day. And I say to anyone out there that just baby steps, just get up, make a coffee, go for a walk, and just you can get yourself out of the dark hole. It is hard. It is very hard, but you can do it. You can come through, but it's just baby steps. That's what you got to do, Nick. It's just baby steps, and that's how I've done it. And then you get momentum, and as you know, momentum builds and builds, and then you start meeting people, and then this person can help you do this, and that person can help you do that, and then all of a sudden you've got a tribe around you that, as I say, only want to see you succeed. So yeah, start slow, and as I said, mate, be kind to yourself, and know that you are going to have days where you go 10 steps forward and then you go 20 steps back. But you just got to be kind to yourself and realize that that's part of the process, part of the journey. And I think, mate, we're all so, we all want to get to the destination, but the destination is, we're all going to end our lives eventually, enjoy the journey,
Yeah.
along the way. And that's what it is. It is for me, I'm enjoying the journey now, and not worried about the destination, because the destination is going to be the same for everybody. And I think, yeah, so just biggest advice is just take it day by day, step by step, one foot in front of the other, and eventually you will come, and journal it, and you look back on 6 months ago to where you are today, and you'll be a totally different person.
Yep. Great advice there. And I think the baby steps are so important, everything there. And yeah, there is no destination we need to get to, because all we have is, right now. When we get to that destination, that will be the new right now. So it's like, it's living in a fantasy instead of just being present and, embracing where we are. So love everything you've talked about, mate. So for anyone listening, where can they go? What's the name of your book, and where can they go to get it?
Okay, so it's called Easy Target: Taming the Black Dog by Adam Blum. So, and if people, it's not the Bloom the flower, it's Blum. So it's a German spelling, and I often always get Blum, but it's Bloom. So you can get it. So it's in QBD, it's in Dimmix, it's on Amazon. There's a bit of an issue. So a couple of my friends overseas, that apparently there's an issue for the overseas market. So I've got to talk to the publisher about that, and see what the issue is there. But yeah, you can get it it's on Angus and Roberts. It's on eBay. So you can, it's online. You can get it, and if you direct message me, so I'm on LinkedIn as Adam Blum, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram with True Blue True Blue Conversations, and also Adam Blum as well. But if you go to my website, adambloom.com, and direct message me, I can organise to get you a book. So it's out there, Nick, and yeah, I just hope that people can take something away from what I've written, and I go into more detail in the book of, like, you and I have just had a compressed version of my story, but yeah, there's some funny stories in the book, and there's some really really deep, and but I think you've got to be serious, but you've also got to have a humorous side when you're talking about this stuff as well.
Exactly. So anyone listening, we'll have the links in the show notes, so make sure to check it out. So final thing, we finish with these 5 closing questions. So just whatever comes to mind for these. The first one being, what's your best childhood memory that comes to mind?
Oh, mate, I have to say it's with at my nan and pop's place, doing arts and craft and building train sets with my nan, and teaching her to play the PlayStation, and right, and like my brother and I used to race the old bicycles down nan and pop's backyard, and that was really cool. That was that was the best childhood memory, and just spending time with my grandparents, and yeah, just doing arts and craft. And Nen was just so patient, and she was truly a very, very special lady, and I miss her dearly. We're coming up to coming up to 19 years that she's been gone, and yeah, I miss her every day, but I know she's with me, and I only hope, Nick, that she's looking down, and she's proud of her grandson.
I'm sure she is, mate. How could she not be proud? So next one, what do you think is the biggest burden currently on mental health in society?
I think, as we've alluded to throughout the podcast, mate, there's still a stigma, and whenever I talk about that I'm a suicide survivor, there's still people go, oh, I'm really sorry, and that really that irks me a lot. It really gets to me because, you know, like, don't be sorry. The triumph is I'm still here and I'm still talking, and I'm still here now to share my story, and we need to break down that thing, because that's why people don't share. That's why they don't come forward, mate, because
Yeah.
people are judging them and saying, "Oh, sorry, I'm really sorry," and it's like, don't be sorry. Like, I feel comfortable to share my story with you. I don't want that stigma of, oh, well, I'm really sorry, and I think the more people, mate, they don't want to talk about the uncomfortable. You know, people don't want to talk about being uncomfortable, and unfortunately, Nick, you know it too. If you're going to attempt to be successful in life, there's a lot of discomfort with that. And, you know, we need to have those hard conversations around mental health. It needs to be, people need to be able to feel that they can be vulnerable and share their vulnerability. And I think if we start doing that in the mental health space and we get more comfortable and do workshops, and, you know, people like myself and you and many others that are advocating for mental health, I think we will break that stigma down. But there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of work to be done, and a lot of people don't like to show vulnerability, and but mate, I think for me, I'm fine with it because I'm comfortable in who I am. My story's in a book now, mate. It's
It's
there's
out there.
I've shared everything, so I'm not. Yeah, I haven't. It's warts and all, and it had to be. And I think, yeah, that's the biggest problem we have in mental health at the moment, is that we people just need to feel safe that they can be vulnerable to share. And the moment we break down that stigma of, yeah, that it's okay to speak, that, because there's still that stigma, there is still that
Yeah.
stigma that it is. And look, it's getting better, it is getting better, but more, there's still, we have got mountains to climb still before we hit that summit and that peak. So yeah, that's the biggest problem at the moment, I think.
What would you say it means to be a man?
I think for me, when I knew I became a man was when my dad he came to me and said, and he shook my hand, looked me in the eyes, and said, "Son, I'm proud of you." And he never got that from his, and to say that he loved me, and he never
Yeah.
got that from his father. And I knew I'd become a man when my dad said he was proud of me and that he loved me. And that, for me, that was reinforced last Thursday night at the book launch, where my dad just was so proud, and he had tears running down his eyes. And I that's what we want to do as men. We really want to make our parents proud, and that's what you want to do in life. You just want to make your parents proud of who you are, and what you've become. And for me, that's when I knew I'd made it as a man, is when Dad shook my hand, looked me in the eyes, and said, "Son, I'm proud of you and I love you." And for me, mate, that was all I needed to hear, and I'll pass that on to my sons when I have kids. So yeah, that's for me. That's when I knew that I'd made it as a man.
That's a beautiful example, mate, and it really does. It means everything, doesn't it? So it's such a important thing.
Absolutely.
What's your personal definition of happiness?
For me, it's being surrounded by friends and family, and just trying to be the best version of me, and just give out kindness to people, and know that when I end, like when my life comes to an end, and I hope it's many, many, many years and decades down the track. Now that's how I look at life now. Is it's a blessing it's a privilege to age. It really is. And life is the greatest gift, and it's a blessing to be here and wake up every day, and for me, I want to look back at the end of my life knowing that I left a legacy that people go, yeah, Adam Bloom was a kind, decent human being, and he helped others. And to me, that's happiness, mate. If I can look back on my deathbed with no regrets, no regrets, and have 6 or 7 Adams standing at the end of the bed saying, "What if you did this? What if you did that?" If I can have people say that I was a kind, decent human being that helped others, mate, that's happiness for me. That is true happiness. That I gave and helped others, and I think it's the greatest thing to help others. Is there's nothing better, and like for me, that lady being vulnerable and sharing her story last week, that gave me a warm and fuzzy feeling inside that I'll have forever. That
Yeah.
I was able to, by sharing my story, I was able to help her and overcome her demons. Well, mate, if that doesn't make you feel happy, Nick, I don't know what will in life, because that's pretty powerful and pretty special. So, yeah, I don't know. You might be a psychopath if that doesn't if that doesn't make you happy inside, because yeah, it's pretty unbelievable experience.
Yeah, not many things more powerful than that, mate. So,
Absolutely.
final one. You've got many, many of these, but what would you say you were most proud of?
I'm proud of the person I am today, but I'm also proud. My greatest achievement to date would have to be the book. With everything that like the podcast has got me to where I am, and I'm proud of the podcast. I'm proud. I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of my friends. I'm proud of everything I've achieved. But to me, the book is the greatest achievement to date, because as I've spoken through the story with you, Nick, like through all the adversity that I've had to overcome at 30, I'm 31 years old. Most 31-year-olds don't have to overcome what I've had to overcome. And it's, yeah, to have a book published, I'm a part of 1% of people in the world that have a book published. And if you had said if I had believed what my year 6 teacher said, that I'd amount to nothing in life, and that, I'd end up in jail, or like, I think the egg's on their face now, and it really is. And I think if anyone out there, when they listen to this, don't ever believe what people tell you that you can't achieve. If you stay true to your purpose, stay true to who you are, you've got your why of why you're doing it, and you stay focused, mate, you can achieve some amazing things in life. And the book is it's my greatest achievement to date, because I stuck true to who I was and who I am. And yeah, it's been a cathartic process, but it's also been another journey that I've grown. And yeah, I reflect now on it, Nick, that yeah, it has been, yeah, it's really holding that first copy in your hands is something that I'll never ever forget. It just it all the work, all the sacrifice, everything's worth it, and you know it because you've written a book as well. It you can't explain the feeling to people who haven't done it, and it is just something that is just like, it's one thing to hold a manuscript in your hand and you go, oh, cool, yep, that's just a bit of paper, but actually holding your book in your hands, yeah, it's pretty powerful. And yeah, so mate, greatest achievement yet is the book. And look, there's many great achievements to come. I can't wait to get into speaking and start helping people with speaking and sharing my story, and doing workshops and things like that, and getting into schools and talking to young kids and helping them build their resilient shield. And I know my purpose, Nick. I know why I'm here now, and I know I'm here to help people. And yeah, when you find your purpose, It's pretty powerful.
It is. I think you can't go wrong if you found your purpose. You've got that to work towards every day. It gives you that. Nothing gives you a better feeling, and I think it is a very fortunate thing. And love what you've said. Love how open you are. Thank you for giving us so much time. I know our listeners everyone listening will take so much out of this. So love what you're doing, mate. Keep doing it, and I know you'll do a million other massive things with what you're doing, and you'll save many lives. You already have. So yeah, thank you for making the time and doing what you do.
No, thanks, mate. And as I say, mate, thank you for what you're doing, mate, with spreading the message as well. It's so important, and I just thank you for the opportunity, mate, to come on and share my story. And yeah, I just hope someone takes something away from what I've shared today. So thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Adam Blum, for joining me today and offering your insights. And thank you for listening. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode and any suggestions on topics you'd like to hear about. Feel free to leave a comment or send a DM. Your feedback's always appreciated. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button, leave a like or comment, share with your friends, and follow me on Instagram. It really makes a difference. Thank you so much.